everyone and welcome to Let's Meet Japan. Today I wanted to talk about the Fuji Summit that I had recently. Fuji Summit season 2023 is over. Right after the season was over, all of the media and Yamanashi Prefecture government, they were freaking out talking about how badly Fuji actually needs help, how the troops of tourists are bringing trash and bad attitude to the mountains. There is a possibility that hiking Mount Fuji is going to be more difficult over time just because all of those talks in media. Before those changes come into effect, I would strongly recommend you guys, if you ever wanted to hike Mount Fuji, to just go and do that in 2024. And today I'm gonna share with you my knowledge, my research, and everything you need to learn, everything you need to know before going to Mount Fuji next season. Let's go! If you're still at the stage of your planning where you don't know which trail you want to hike, the next section is for you. There are 4 different trails available and they vary by the number of hours required to ascend and descend, the difficulty of the climb itself, and the crowdiness of the trail as well. Yoshida and Subashiri trails merge at the 8th station, and from 8 to the summit, hikers who are taking those 2 trails are walking alongside. That's why perhaps those 2 trails are the busiest one. All of the trails are color-coded, so when you're on a trail, just to make sure you're sticking to your color. For example, if you're taking Yoshida trail, it's going to be yellow, and all of the signs for you are going to be yellow. Let's start the overview from the most popular one, Yoshida Trail. This trail definitely has the most people, but at the same time the most facilities. You will find a lot of mounting huts, the first aid stations, a lot of vending machines for the overpriced water and coffee. The trail itself is zigzaggy and rocky. You can only see some greenery and trees in between of the 5th station and the 6th station. The rest is just very rocky. It will take you around 10 hours to complete the hike, with 6 hours for ascent, 4 hours to descend. Judging by the number of climbers, Fujinomiya Trail is number 2 most popular one. I do believe this is because the trailhead altitude is the highest among all of the trails, so you start your hiking higher if you're taking this trail, and with that your time to ascend and descend decreases. 5 hours for ascent and 3 hours for descent. The tricky part of this one, I think, is that the topography is very rocky and very steep, so better be prepared for a harder hike here. Subashiri Trail had approximately 4 times less hikers in 2022 than the Yoshida Trail, so you will see less people on this trail for sure. One tricky thing here that you need to remember is that this trail connects to Yoshida Trail, and from the 8th station and higher, you guys will be working together with the rest of the tourists from Yoshida Trail, which is very crowded. This trail has the biggest forest zone that extends up to the higher altitudes comparing to the other trails. So if you like to hike in a forest, that's maybe a plus for you. But at the same time, if you are hiking at night time in the forest, it might be a bit hard to see for you, so be cautious. Another important thing, that there is no aid and rescue system set up at this trail. Gotemba Trail. The altitude of the starting point is super low comparing to the rest, but at the same time the trail is not particularly difficult in terms of the inclination on topography. The slope is generally gentle, but the difficult part comes from 2 main things. So the trail is suitable for those who are good with long, annoying walks, and for those who can cope with a large altitude difference. I definitely would not advise you to take this trail if you are a first-time hiker or a beginner and you don't know how your body will react on the altitude, just because it's really, really drastic here. There are a lot fewer mounting huts on this trail, very few toilets and restrooms, and there's no emergency facilities whatsoever. There are known cases when unexperienced hikers attempted the summit and they could not walk by themselves because of how exhausted their body was. There is also a risk of losing your way due to frequent dense fog and fewer landmarks available for you to navigate.
There are basically two ways how you can climb Mount Fuji. What most of the people do, they plan hiking for 2 days. When they start their climbing around the midday and they arrive to the aid station or to the station where you booked your mountain hut around sunset. So this way you will be able to enjoy the beautiful landscapes with the sunset and with a very overpriced cup of ramen or a cup of tea. And your very next day will start early in the morning, like around maybe 2 a.m., so that early. And you will need to climb from 2 a.m. to around 5 a.m. in the morning to see the beautiful sunrise from the summit of Mount Fuji. The second way, so-called bullet climb, which is, by the way, very discouraged by Japanese government to do so. So bullet climbing is when you start your hiking at night from the 5th station and hike all the way to the summit without stopping, without letting your body to adjust to the very, very abrupt change of altitude. And so you reach the summit by the time of the sunrise as well. So I would not recommend you to do that. I personally am a firm believer that the best enjoyment of hiking comes with the hike itself, so why rush it, right? I cannot stress enough how important it is to actually acclimatize. When you arrive at the 5th station, I would recommend you to stay at the 5th station to get a big fat portion of ramen and to get a good food before beginning your hike, to do some stretching, relaxing, because the 5th station is already kind of like up high. So you need to let your body adjust to the new altitude. Why it is recommended to stay overnight? Because when you reach 8th station, it's getting a little bit harder to breathe. I got a little bit nauseous, a little bit dizzy. The thin air really got me somewhere around the station. And the night of sleep, I wouldn't call it sleep, but the time that I spent there at the 8th station really helped me to proceed to the 10th station later. They also say bottled oxygen, which I personally didn't try, didn't buy, but I could see it on every station, and that is supposed to help you to cope with the breathing issues if you have them. Climbing season usually lasts for only 3 months, from July to September, and when the season is over, everything, mountain hut, toilets, those first 8 stations are closed and the navigational signs are removed from the trails as well. Off-season climbing are possible too, but for that you will need to apply. You need to fill in a special request form and explain your experience and prove to authorities that you're an experienced hiker and are ready for dangerous adventure. Opening and closing of the seasons can vary for different trails. And even though most of the trails are open in July, you will have to book your accommodation as early as April or May. Moving to mountain hut, they are pretty expensive. For a price of an average 12,000 yen, you will basically get a sleeping bag alongside other people in a mountain hut and a dinner, which is very small but was very delicious to me. Maybe that was just a thin air and it hit my head after the difficult hike.
I think the most popular questions that I'm getting is how to book an accommodation in Japan. It might be quite tricky because most of the websites are in Japanese. So it is part of the video. I want to give you a quick example of how to do that. There is a helpful website that lists all of the properties that are available for booking on each of the trails. I'll put the link below, but basically this is how it looks like. Unfortunately, it's mostly in Japanese, but you can translate some part of it in English just using a simple add-on to Google Chrome. For my personal experience, it was really hard waking up super early and hiking in the complete darkness with a lot of people lining up. So it is better to book your accommodation as close to the summit as possible. So maybe consider 8th station or maybe closer to the 9th station already. So this way you will wake up and you will go to the summit quickly. So from here and down, you can find the properties that are number 8 and higher. Let's just pick randomly this one and see how it looks like. So you can translate the page using a simple add-on again. And you can pick reservation right here. The translation is relatively okay, so you can understand mostly what you will be getting for the price. So you can see that this particular place is already accepting reservations. Some of the places, most of them I would say, will be opening their reservation system sometime around April or May 2024. The process is very streamlined. You just need to fill in this little application form, and here below you can see all of the payment options that they accept.
One of the main concerns of the authorities why they start talking about limiting number of tourists to Mount Fuji is the trash that is left behind on the slopes. I personally didn't see much of a trash on the trails, but my experience is super limited to just one day of hiking, so obviously they know better. But the one thing that I want you to remember is that Mount Fuji doesn't have any trash cans, trash bins, like anywhere, like zero, none, absolutely no. So everything that you bring with you to Mount Fuji should stay with you in your backpack. One of the very common thing to do is to buy wooden walking sticks. There are two different types of them. One is a shorter one, which I kind of believe is easier to bring back with you to your country because it like fits the luggage. The second one is the longer one, is the one that you can actually use as a tracking pole. So I would recommend you to have a tracking pole, like an actual tracking pole, because it's easier to walk with. But if for some reason you forgot and you don't have them on you, of course it is better to buy that a longer walking pole, so that might help you on your way with climbing. So the cost of the walking pole itself is around 2,000 yen.
But this is not the most expensive part of the souvenir. The most expensive part comes from collecting the stamps. There are truly countless number of those stamping stations, so to collect all of them, that might get a little bit expensive. I'm not sure if all of the stamps cost the same, but everything gets more and more expensive when you're getting higher and higher in the mountains. So this video I recorded at the 8th station by my mountain hut, and these stamps at the station cost 500 yen. So let's say you're planning to collect one stamp from each of the stations. That will cost you 2,500 yen just for stamps alone, and the total price of the product is going to be around 5,000 yen. But like I said before, there are many more stamp stations, and the design of each stamp is very unique. It is very cute, so you might be tempted to spend more money.
There is an admission fee that is voluntary, and obviously for that reason there's no gate that you need to pass. There is no person who would encourage you to pay that, but it is only 1,000 yen, and those 1,000 yen are actually important because those collected money goes to the organization who cleans Mount Fuji, who brings water up to Mount Fuji, and doing like all of those very important things that make your trip to Mount Fuji actually comfortable and nice. I personally saw so many people ignoring that, and that actually made me very, very sad.
But the cool part about that is that for that little money, as a thank you, you will be getting this cute souvenir. It's a little badge that you can attach to your backpack and you can always have it on you. The running water is very limited, so you cannot use that water for brushing your teeth, washing your face, or of course there's no shower at Mount Fuji, so be ready to use your own water or whatever hygiene rituals you have, and I guess just be mentally prepared that there is no water on Mount Fuji. Most people stop when they reach the crater. That's the best place to observe the sunset. They're tired, they've done a great job hiking all the way here. But the funny part is that this is not the tallest point of Japan yet. So when you reach the crater, just be ready to hike another hour or an hour and a half to reach to the tallest part of Japan, to reach the summit of Mount Fuji. The good news for you is that that hike is the easiest part of the climb, and it is the most beautiful, so I highly recommend you doing that. The views are incredible. There's not too many people doing that, so you will be absolutely amazed by the views around. If you do that, you also get to see a very unique thing. It's 25 kilometers long, distinctive dark triangular shape Mount Fuji shadow on the valley below. Bring a lot of 100 yen coins because that's the currency they use on Mount Fuji the most. Bring a lot of clothes because it's getting so cold in the morning, and it doesn't matter how hot it is in Tokyo or the base of Mount Fuji, you're going to be super cold in the morning. Be patient on the trail because the trails are very rocky and a lot of people are hiking along with you without even knowing that you can push the rocks and you can hurt other people below. If you're planning hiking at night, don't forget a headlight, that's a must. If you don't want to bring a lot of water with you to make your backpack lighter, you can buy water on Mount Fuji, but be aware that the price is getting very high, especially when you're reaching the summit of Mount Fuji.
Thank you for watching, guys, and let me know if you have any other questions that I can answer for you, and if I can help you with your preparation to hike Mount Fuji. Something might change by the 2024, so if something changes by April 2024, I will do another video for you with those additional things to cover, and I attach this video somewhere like here, so you can, not sure which side, but you can click probably somewhere here. But for now, that's it. Thank you for watching. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. That will help us big time. Thank you.